Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds slams UI employee over DEI policy evasion in leaked video. Tempers are flaring across Iowa's education sphere, and it's all because of a controversial, undercover Fox News video that set tongues wagging at the highest levels of the state. On the surface, it's a story about rules, regulations, and university procedures. But dig deeper, and you'll find a debate that strikes at the very heart of what public education should be allowed to teach and prioritize. Are you sure you know where you stand on this? Read on. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds didn't mince words when she described her reaction as appalled to footage released by Fox News. The video, posted on July 29th, captures a University of Iowa employee, identified as Drea Tinoco, an assistant director in leadership and student organization development, appearing to acknowledge ways the university might be skirting newly implemented restrictions on diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs. Noticeably, the video itself isn't viewable by the public, leaving its context and full content open to question. That's already causing friction. How should we interpret evidence most people can't see for themselves? Governor Reynolds wasted no time. She confirmed she would forward the matter to the state's Attorney General, Brenna Bird, for scrutiny under Iowa's DEI Act. This law, which went into effect July 1st, strictly bans state universities from running or supporting DEI offices and prohibits hiring staff with DEI-related responsibilities. The rules are clear on paper, but enforcement, as this incident shows, is anything but straightforward. The video, which Fox News claims was filmed undercover and features a University of Iowa watermark dated July 2nd, 2025, allegedly shows Tinoco discussing creative solutions for continuing DEI work despite the prohibition. In the clip, Tinoco explains that after the law took effect, diversity, equity, inclusion, anything like that, any buzzwords, had to be scrubbed from our websites. Still, she reportedly goes on to describe how, in practice, staff look for workarounds. We can't use that word, okay? Civic engagement. In other words, even if DEI terms are banned, some believe the core activities can simply be relabeled to keep them alive. But here's where it gets even more divisive. Tinoco also mentions following the guidance of the Board of Regents, adding a comment that someone told me to look them up. It was just a bunch of white people, raising questions about representation and the driving forces behind the policy. She openly states the intention to persist. We are still going to talk about DEI, still going to do all the DEI things. Does this cross the line from civil disobedience to outright defiance? Or is it a principled stand for what some faculty see as essential values, simply wrapped in new language? University of Iowa President Barbara Wilson addressed the situation publicly, stressing that personnel matters are confidential, but vowing that the university will handle allegations with integrity, compliance, and responsibility. She promised the Board of Regents would be regularly updated as the investigation advances. No one yet knows how Fox News got hold of the video, or whether Tinoco knew she was being recorded, a detail sure to fuel even more speculation and debate. The backdrop to all this is Senate File 2435, the new Iowa law forbidding public universities from hosting or funding DEI offices or requiring DEI statements. It goes even further by preventing the creation of alternative offices that might do similar work under a different name. In a formal communication to the Attorney General, Reynolds described the situation as a blatant disregard for the law and the will of the legislature. She contended the evidence indicates the university, in effect, maintains a DEI office or has employees who fulfill the same functions, giving rise to potential legal violations. For her part, Attorney General Brenna Bird responded promptly, announcing the launch of a formal investigation. She said, "Regent universities must comply with state laws," and reiterated the influence not just of the Iowa law, but of a Trump-era executive order banning DEI programs at federal institutions. The Iowa Board of Regents President Sherry Bates backed the probe, declaring, "Following the law is not optional, nor is working around the law. Any attempt to skirt the law needs to be dealt with swiftly." She further emphasized that the board would act quickly to correct what she termed a very problematic situation. And here's the part most people miss. Amid these flashpoints, the Board of Regents has actually delayed its own vote on a new DEI and critical race theory, CRT, classroom policy, citing the need for more public feedback and a comprehensive plan. Bates argued, "One of the primary reasons we are not taking up the DEI CRT policy is that the discussions on how to best implement the ideas that were brought forward are still ongoing." This acknowledgement signals how volatile and shifting the terrain is on this issue. Barbara Wilson, again speaking for the University of Iowa, pledged full cooperation with authorities. "We have already launched an immediate and comprehensive investigation," she assured, committing to transparency, accountability, and the highest standards of conduct. She was clear, if any policies or laws were broken, corrective action would follow without hesitation, while reiterating that confidential personnel issues couldn't yet be disclosed. From the legislative side, Representative Taylor Collins, who leads the House Committee on Higher Education, echoed concerns about what he called the entrenched DEI bureaucracy. He argued that the Board of Regents' hands-off approach allowed the situation to fester, and pledged that lawmakers were prepared to intervene further to rid these ideologically driven programs from our state's universities. So where do you stand? Is vigilance against workarounds justified as a means of guaranteeing academic neutrality and legal compliance? Or are universities right to defend inclusive programs? And is it really possible to suppress these ideas entirely just by changing labels? Some see this as common sense law enforcement, others as an alarming crackdown on intellectual freedom. What's your take? Does Iowa's crackdown protect students from political indoctrination, or does it stifle honest conversations about diversity and equity? Is renaming DEI initiatives a clever adaptation or a violation of public trust? Join the debate in the comments. This is one issue where silence speaks volumes. University of Iowa under fire. AG investigates alleged DEI law violations. The University of Iowa is currently under scrutiny, as Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird has initiated an investigation into the institution for purportedly breaching a state law that limits diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives. This inquiry was prompted by a complaint filed by Republican Governor Kim Reynolds, who based her concerns on a controversial undercover video released by Fox News. In this footage, a university employee seemingly reveals that officials at the University of Iowa have discovered methods to circumvent the DEI restrictions imposed by the law. Last year, a state law was enacted that explicitly prohibits public universities in Iowa from maintaining DEI offices or employing staff dedicated to these programs. The employee featured in the video, identified as Andrea Tinoco, who serves as the Assistant Director of Leadership and Student Organization Development, stated that terms related to diversity, equity, and inclusion have been systematically removed from the university's online presence. Tinoco remarked, "It's not there, but we are essentially finding ways to operate around it, so that was our solution. We were like, oh, okay, we can't use that word? Okay, civic engagement." This statement raises significant questions about the university's adherence to the law. Notably, it appears that Tinoco was unaware she was being recorded, and the video has been edited, omitting portions of the conversation. In the same video, she asserted, "We're still going to talk about DEI. We're still going to do all the DEI things," which further complicates the university's position regarding compliance with the law. Governor Reynolds has since forwarded the video to Attorney General Byrd for further examination, expressing her dismay at the comments made by the university employee. "I'm appalled by the remarks made in this video by a University of Iowa employee who blatantly admits to defying DEI restrictions I signed into law on May 9, 2024, Reynolds stated. Under the provisions of the law, the Attorney General has the authority to petition a court to compel the university to adhere to DEI regulations. During a recent Board of Regents meeting, University of Iowa President Barbara Wilson addressed the ongoing investigation, emphasizing the seriousness of the allegations. She confirmed that the university has initiated its own inquiry and is committed to collaborating with both the Regents and the Attorney General's office. If at any point we find that policies or laws have been violated, we will take the necessary corrective actions without hesitation, Wilson assured. The Board of Regents has expressed its full support for the Attorney General's investigation. President Sherry Bates labeled the failure of faculty and staff to comply with DEI laws as unacceptable, insisting that any attempts to bypass the law must be addressed promptly. The board fully supports the Attorney General's review and will take any action needed to correct this very problematic situation, Bates stated. Regent David Barker voiced his concerns regarding the previous board leadership, criticizing them for not allowing him to oversee the university's compliance with DEI laws. He acknowledged their apprehensions about micromanaging public universities, but argued that in certain instances, the board must take a more proactive stance. Having worked with university administrations on DEI for several months, I did not have confidence that all of them would faithfully execute our directives, Barker explained. He described the revelations from the video and other reports as predictable, indicating that there remains significant work to be done. Regent Christine Hensley expressed her appreciation for Wilson's remarks, stating, "I also feel very strongly that the way this is handled will really dictate a lot in the future for the University of Iowa. So I hope we are as aggressive as we can possibly be in dealing with this." This situation raises critical questions about the future of DEI initiatives in Iowa's public universities and the balance between compliance and advocacy. What are your thoughts on the university's approach to DEI? Do you believe the investigation will lead to meaningful changes, or is it merely a political maneuver? Share your opinions in the comments below. University of Iowa official caught on camera defying DEI regulations. A shocking video has surfaced plunging the University of Iowa into controversy. The footage, aired by Fox News, shows a UI official discussing ways to circumvent anti-DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion regulations. This has sparked outrage, with Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds filing a complaint to the state attorney general's office, stating she was appalled by the remarks made by the employee, identified as Andrea Tinoco, the assistant director of UI leadership and student organization development. Reynolds accused Tinoco of blatantly admitting to defying DEI restrictions I signed into law. But here's where it gets even more contentious.